The battle over planet Zaros had turned the sky into fire. Massive ships burned in space, and explosions lit up the darkness. Human forces had launched one last attack against the Zirak Empire. It was a mission of no return. Rian sat in the pilot seat of the Black Strike shuttle. His hands moved fast over the controls. Sweat rolled down his face inside the helmet. The ship shook as enemy fire hit the wings. Still, he kept going. Behind him, the rest of the attack squad was gone. He was the last one. Rian, pull back, came a voice through the radio. No, Rian replied. We finished this now. His mission was clear. Destroy the enemy command station orbiting Zaros. It controlled the Zirak fleets in this part of the galaxy. If it fell, the war could end. The command station was shaped like a giant black ring. Bright energy flowed through its arms. It had shields, guns, and hundreds of fighters around it. But Rian had something else, a core bomb inside his ship. The humans had built it for one reason: to break the unbreakable. Rian guided the shuttle toward the center of the ring. Red lights flashed inside his cockpit, a warning: engines failing. He didn't care. Blasts from enemy ships flew past him. Some hit the shuttle. Metal burned. Parts flew off. But Rian pushed forward. As he reached the center of the ring, he unlocked the bomb. The core began to heat up. It had 30 seconds before it exploded. He looked out at the command station. This place had once been a symbol of peace. Years ago, he had walked its halls beside the Queen of the Zirak. They had tried to stop the war before it began. But something went wrong. Talks failed. Trust broke. War started. Now, he would end it. Rian closed his eyes. For a moment, he thought of the Queen. Her voice, her face, her promise of peace. Maybe in another life, they could have done more. The shuttle crashed into the ring. A bright flash covered everything. Then silence. Back on Earth, the human commanders received the message. The Zirak command station was gone. No trace remained. No signal from Rian's ship. They marked him as dead. News of his death spread quickly. Soldiers called him a hero, a warrior who gave everything. The war slowed. Some hoped for peace. On Zaros, in the heart of the palace, Queen Velra watched the skies. Her eyes were fixed on the place where the ring once floated. A servant came to her side. The human is dead, my queen. The command station is lost. Velra said nothing. Her face was calm, but her heart was heavy. She had known Rian. Before the war, they had shared a secret hope for unity between their people. He wasn't supposed to die like this. She whispered. She turned and walked away from the window. But far away, on a cold, broken moon orbiting a dead planet, a figure moved under the rubble. Rian gasped for breath. His suit was torn, and sparks flew from his arm controls. The blast had thrown him clear of the station before it fully exploded. Somehow, a piece of debris shielded him. He coughed, stood up slowly, and looked around. The sky above was dark. Stars blinked far away. His shuttle was gone. His radio was silent. He was alive, but alone. He checked his suit. Oxygen was low. One leg was injured. He limped forward, searching for shelter. Hours passed. He found the wreck of a small alien ship nearby. It had crashed years ago. Its power was dead, but some parts remained. Rian crawled inside and rested. He used old wires to power up a weak signal beacon. It might not reach far, but it was all he had. Each day he fixed more parts. His leg healed slowly. He gathered scraps for food. The moon had nothing but rocks and dust, yet he kept going. The nights were cold, and the days were dry. Rian talked to himself to stay awake. He remembered battles, old friends, and the Queen. Her voice still echoed in his mind. He didn't know if anyone would find him. Maybe the humans had stopped searching. Maybe the Zirak would kill him if they did. But he refused to give up. On the 7th day, the signal beacon blinked. Someone had picked up the message. A small ship landed nearby. It was not human. It was Zirak. Rian grabbed a metal rod and prepared to fight. But the door opened, and a small figure stepped out. It was a Zirak scout, young, unarmed, and afraid. You're the human, the scout said. Yes. Rian answered, "Are you here to finish me?" The scout shook his head. "No, we thought you were dead, but some of us never believed it. Come with me. There are those who want peace." Rian looked up at the sky. The war was not over yet, but maybe, just maybe, he had a second chance. He stepped onto the ship. The small Xerax ship flew low over rocky mountains. Inside, Rian sat quietly, holding the edge of the seat. His armor was damaged, and his face was tired. The young Xerax scout sat across from him, stealing quick glances. "What is your name?" Rian asked. "Luro." The scout replied. "Why did you help me?" Luro looked down, unsure. "Not all of us follow the Queen's commands. Some believe the war was a mistake." Rian raised an eyebrow. "That's a bold thing to say." "I didn't say it," Luro said quickly. "My leader did." The ship passed over a wide valley and entered a hidden cave. Lights flickered on. A gate opened below, and the ship landed inside a deep mountain-based dot as the doors opened. Rian stepped out slowly. Xerac eyes stared at him from every side. Soldiers in dark armor stood ready, but none attacked. An older Xerac walked forward, taller than the others, with calm eyes and no weapon. "Welcome, Commander Rian," the elder said. "I am Torin. You are among friends here." Rian didn't relax. "I've heard that before." "I understand," Torin said, "but we saved your life. That must mean something." Torin led Rian through stone halls lit with blue lamps. Xerac workers moved around, building machines and studying maps. It looked like a resistance group, not a royal force. "We are called the Old Path," Torin explained. "Before the war, there was a council. We believed in unity between stars. When the Queen chose war, we left. I knew the Queen once," Rian said. "She believed in peace too. Something changed." Torin stopped. "Yes, and you may help us understand what that was." They reached a room with medical tools. The healers checked Rian's wounds. His leg was healing well, but he needed rest. Still, he asked questions. "Do you know what happened after I destroyed the command ring?" "Yes," Torin said. "The Queen declared a day of mourning. She said the humans had taken everything. She called for endless war." "She mourned me?" Rian asked. "She mourned someone," Torin answered. "We don't know if it was for show or truth." Rian lay back and closed his eyes. His body was weak, but his mind was full of thoughts. Velra had once stood beside him in the Great Hall. She had held his hand when they signed the first peace offer. The memory was sharp. Like a blade. Days passed. Rian trained again, slower than before, but stronger each morning. He spoke with engineers and soldiers in the base. Many of them were young, born during the war. They had never seen Earth, never spoken to a human until now. One day, Luro brought a recording to Rian. "This was sent out by the Queen," Luro said. Rian played the video. It showed Velra standing before her people. Her face was proud, her voice cold. "The humans took what was ours. Their commander destroyed our heart, but we will rise stronger. Let the stars know Xerac will never fall." Rian watched closely. For a moment, her eyes softened, only for a second, but he saw it. Behind her strength, there was pain. He turned to Luro. "She believes I'm dead." "Yes," Luro said. "And the galaxy does too." "Then I have an advantage," Rian said. Torin called a meeting with his top members. A map of the Xerac capital floated in the air above the table. "We need someone inside," Torin said. "Someone who can walk through the palace without fear." "You want me to go there?" Rian asked. "No one else can," Torin replied. "You know the Queen. You know the halls, and you are supposed to be dead." Rian stood still. The plan was risky. If he failed, he would die before he ever reached her. But if he succeeded, maybe the truth could come out. Maybe peace was still possible. He looked at the map. The Festival of the Twin Stars was only a week away, a perfect time to slip into. "The palace, I'll do it," Rian said. That night, he sat alone near the cave entrance. The stars above were cold and silent. He remembered the moment he last spoke to Velra years ago. "You and I are not so different," she had told him. He had laughed. "Your people have tails and glowing eyes." "That is not what I mean," she said. We both want the same thing. No more graves, no more war. He had believed her. Now he wondered if she had believed herself. Luro sat beside him. Do you think she will kill you? Luro asked. Maybe, Rian said. But I have to try. What will you say to her? Rian didn't answer at first. Then he said, I'll say what she once told me. No more graves. Luro nodded. I hope she listens. Rian stood. So do I. The plan was set. In 2 days, Rian would enter the capital. He would wear a trader's robe, hide his face, and move through the crowd. He would enter the palace during the celebration, and then he would stand before the queen. If she remembered who he truly was, there was hope. If she had changed beyond that, there would be no turning back. But Rian had one thing left to chance, and for him, that was enough. The twin moons of Zaros shone brightly in the sky. Lights danced across the city as the Festival of Stars began. Music echoed through the stone streets. People wore bright robes, masks, and painted symbols on their faces. For the Zirak, this was a day of pride and power. For Rian, it was a chance to change everything. He moved through the crowd wearing a long dark robe with a silver hood. His face was hidden. Round him, Zirak families laughed and shared food. Floating banners flew overhead, showing images of Queen Velra. Firelights lit up the night, and flying machines dropped petals from above. But Rian saw something else. Towers full of guards, checkpoints at every gate, and drones scanning faces. The queen was still afraid. He passed a checkpoint slowly. A scanner beeped once. The guard looked at Rian's hood, but said nothing. There were too many people to check every single face. Once inside the palace zone, Rian took a deep breath. He had walked these halls before, but now everything felt different. Back then, he was a guest. Now, he was a ghost. He slipped into a side hallway and reached the servant entrance. A young girl stood there holding a tray of fruit. Rian whispered in the old language of peace, the same words he once used with Velra. May the stars see our truth. The girl froze. Her eyes widened. She stepped back, then slowly opened the door for him. She said nothing and walked away. Inside, Rian moved quickly. He avoided cameras and used forgotten passages. Torn's map had been right. Many of the old tunnels were still working. He passed through narrow halls, storage rooms, and long corridors with golden walls. Then he reached the inner court. He stood behind a tall curtain, looking through a gap. The queen sat on a high throne made of crystal. Her robes were deep blue, and a long crown circled her head. Her eyes were calm but cold. Guards stood all around her. Ministers spoke, handing her scrolls and messages. She nodded once, then waved them away. People were allowed to come forward and offer gifts or speak blessings. A line formed. Rian joined it. His heart beat fast, but his steps were steady. No one noticed him. Not yet. The guard at the front looked at Rian and raised a hand. Your face, he said. Rian slowly pulled back his hood. Gasps filled the hall. The queen stood. Her eyes locked onto his. Her lips moved slightly, but no sound came at first. Then she spoke. You were supposed to be dead. Rian took one more step forward. The guards raised their weapons. The queen raised her hand. No. No one moves. The hall went silent. Rian looked up at her. I lived. For a moment, the queen did not speak. Her face was unreadable. Then she walked down the steps of her throne, one at a time. The guards watched closely, ready for any order. She stopped in front of him. It has been 3 years, she said softly. 3 years of lies, Rian answered. She looked around the room. Leave us. But my queen, leave. She repeated. The hall emptied slowly. Soon, only Rian and Velra remained. She led him through a door behind the throne. They walked down a quiet passage and entered a small garden filled with silver trees and glowing plants. The night sky above looked close, as if watching them. Why did you come? Velra asked. You know why, Rian said. You still remember who I was. She sat on a stone bench. Her voice dropped. I watched your ship burn. I believe you died. I cried for you, though no one saw it. Then why continue the war? Rian asked. Why let your people suffer? Because it was too late, she said, after the station fell. The High Council turned against peace. They blamed me. I had to become strong or lose the throne. There are others who still believe. Rian said, Torn, Luro, the old path. Velra looked at him with sharp eyes. They are rebels. They are hope, he said. You were once one of them. Silence hung in the air. A soft wind blew through the garden trees. I never stopped believing, Velra said. But I did not know how to fight them without losing everything. You don't have to fight alone. Rian said, Let me help. Let us show the truth. To your people, both human and Zirak want peace now. The war has gone on too long. Velra stood slowly. They think you are dead, she said. I can be their proof, Rian said. That the war was based on lies. That the leaders on both sides betrayed the people. The queen walked to a pool of water and looked at her own reflection. If I bring you before them, they will call me weak. If you don't, they will never stop fighting, Rian said. She turned back to him. Tomorrow. We speak before the people. You and I, and if they turn against us, he asked. Then we fall together, Velra said. Rian gave a small nod. Better to fall for truth than to stand on lies. The queen smiled faintly. You haven't changed. I survived. He said. That changed me enough. They stood together in the garden, once allies. Now something more powerful. Not friends, not enemies. Two souls who still carried the dream of peace. In the shadows of the palace. Someone watched them. Far above, in a tower room. A soldier in black armor closed the window and turned away. He had seen Rian. He had heard every word, and he did not want peace. Morning light rose over the city of Zaros. The festival of stars had ended, and the streets were quiet. Only birds flew in the sky, and the sound of water flowing through marble fountains filled the air. Inside the royal palace, guards moved with tense faces. Orders had changed. Patrols doubled. Some whispered about the visitor from the night before, but none had seen his face clearly. Only the queen and a few servants knew the truth. Rian stood in a guest chamber, wearing new robes given to him by Velra's handmaid. His old armor was gone. Now, he looked like a diplomat, not a soldier. He stared at the mirror for a moment. I look like a man from a story, he said to himself. Velra entered without a word. Her crown was gone, and her robe was simple. She looked more like the woman he had met years ago, before the war. Are you ready? She asked. As ready as I can be, Rian answered. They walked together through the royal hall, past silent guards and long glass windows. At the end of the hall was a tall door, behind which waited the council of Zirak leaders and the city's top voices. I called this meeting, Velra said, but I did not tell them you were coming. Then let me speak first, Rian said. The doors opened. Inside was a round chamber. 10 council members sat in high seats. Soldiers stood near the walls. Their eyes followed Rian as he entered beside the queen. One of the council members, a tall man named Zurin, stood up quickly. My queen. Who is this? Why bring a stranger into this place? Velra held up her hand. This is Rian of Earth, the one who destroyed the command ring. The one you all said was dead. Gasps filled the room. Several members stood in shock. One soldier dropped his weapon. That cannot be, said another. He died in the explosion. We saw it. I survived, Rian said calmly. Barely. You are the reason we lost half our fleet, Zurin said, stepping forward. And now you walk in here like a guest? I was a soldier, Rian replied. I followed orders. Just like your people followed yours. Zurin turned to Velra. Why bring him here now? Because the war must end, Velra said, and the truth must be told. She signaled a servant, who brought forward a memory core. It floated in the center of the room. A light flickered, and recordings began to play. Voices filled the chamber's secret meetings. Talks between generals, plans to destroy the peace treaty that Rian and Velra once signed. The recordings showed that leaders from both sides wanted war. Peace would have ruined their power. Some council members looked away in shame. Others whispered among themselves. Zurin's face changed. He stepped back. This is false, a trick. It is the truth, Velra said. I believed in peace. Once Rian did too. We tried to stop the war, but we were betrayed. Rian stepped forward. I came here not to fight, but to fix what was broken. We can't undo the past, but we can stop more blood from falling. One of the council members, a woman named Mira, stood slowly. Many of our people lost sons and daughters in this war. They were told the humans started it. They were lied to, Velra said. By us. Silence followed. Then Mira nodded. Then it is time to tell them the truth. Before anyone else could speak, a loud sound echoed through the palace. Explosions rocked the walls. The lights flickered. Guards rushed to the door. What is happening? Velra asked. A soldier ran in. My queen, we are under attack. The eastern tower has fallen. Who dares attack the palace? Rian asked. A second guard entered, blood on his armor. It is General Soren. He has returned. He leads a force of traitors. They say the queen has joined with the humans and must be removed. Velra's face grew hard. He was once my top. General, Rian moved beside her, and now he sees you as weak. Velra turned to the council. Decide quickly. Stand with me or with him. Mira stood. I stand with the queen. Two more stood. So do we. Zoran stayed silent. We hold the throne room, Velra said. Seal the doors. We must stop Soren before he reaches the city. Rian followed her down the hall. Outside, smoke rose from the east wing. Flying machines circled above. Rebel soldiers climbed the walls. In the garden, Velra's guards met Soren's force in a clash of steel and fire. Soren himself stepped into view, tall and dressed in black armor. His eyes burned with anger. You betrayed your blood. He shouted to Velra. I gave them truth. She answered. You gave them weakness. He replied. And now you stand beside a human. One who killed our people. Rian stepped forward. I survived your war, Soren, and I will survive you. Soren laughed. Then fight me, human. Rian picked up a guard's blade. It was heavier than his own, but sharp. He stepped into the circle. Soren rushed forward. Their blades met in a flash of light. Sparks flew. Rian moved carefully, blocking each heavy strike. Soren fought with rage. Rian fought with purpose. The fight moved across the stone floor. Guards formed a ring around them, watching every move. Velra called out, Stop this madness, Soren. But he did not listen. Rian ducked under a strike and hit Soren in the leg. The general growled but stayed standing. Then he struck Rian across the shoulder, cutting his robe. Rian stumbled back. Blood ran down his arm, but he stood straight. You lost the moment you raised your sword against your own people. Rian said. With one final strike, Rian knocked the weapon from Soren's hands. Velra stepped forward. It's over. Soren looked at her, then at the ring of guards around him. None moved to help him. He dropped to his knees. The guards took him away. Velra turned to Rian. You came back at the right time. No, Rian said. I came back because it was the right thing. She smiled. Then we moved forward together, and for the first time in years, the palace of Zaros saw peace. The fires in the palace garden had been put out. The rebels who followed General Soren were captured or had escaped into the hills. Soldiers stood guard at every gate. The capital was quiet again. But fear still hung in the air. Inside the palace, Queen Velra sat at a long table with her council. Rian stood beside her, his shoulder bandaged. He had won the fight, but the wound reminded him that peace was never easy. Torn. The leader of the old path entered with Luro behind him. They had arrived early in the morning after hearing of the attack. Velra stood and greeted them both with respect. You risked everything by coming here, she said. Torn bowed slightly. Peace is always a risk worth taking. Rian looked. At the table, Soren was not working alone. His words came from belief, not madness. Someone else gave him support. Velra nodded. You're right. He had weapons to advance for a single rebel. Torn placed a small device on the table. We found this at one of Soren's old camps. It holds communication records. The room became quiet. Velra turned on the device. A projection floated above the table, showing coded messages. Some were in Xirak language, but others were human. Rian leaned closer. These codes are from Earth Sector Command. Velra looked at him. You mean your own people helped Soren? Not my people, Rian said. Not anymore. But yes, someone from the human side wanted this war to continue? Mira, the council member who had supported Velra earlier, stood slowly. Why would humans do this? You already destroyed the command ring. Rian looked around the table. War gives power to certain people. It keeps them in control. They feared peace more than battle. Velra walked to the window. Outside, the city was still. Citizens waited to hear what would happen next. We must show this to both worlds, she said. Not just Zirak, but also Earth. Torn crossed his arms. There will be resistance. Both sides have leaders who build their lives on this war. Then we break their walls with truth, Rian said. We speak not as rulers, but as survivors. Later that day, Rian and Velra stood before the royal signal tower. It was a tall black spire in the center of the city. From there, messages could reach across planets. For years, it had been used to spread war orders. Today, it would carry something new. Technicians activated the system. The cameras turned on. Lights flashed. A wide screen showed the queen standing beside the human who was once her enemy. Velra spoke first. To the people of Zirak and to those of Earth, I am Queen Velra, and I stand beside Commander Rian, the man who survived when all believed he had fallen. We are here to tell you the truth. She stepped back. Rian stepped forward. We were lied to. Both our worlds, leaders on both sides wanted war. They destroyed peace talks. They used fear to build their power. Images appeared on the screen recordings of secret plans, of Soren's betrayal, of the messages between human and Zirak warmongers. Rian continued, but it can end now, not with weapons, but with understanding. Velra and I once believed in peace. We believe in it again, and we ask you to believe with us. The message ended. Across planets, ships, and outposts, people watched. Some were shocked, others angry. But many were silent, thinking deeply. For the first time died in a control room far away on Earth. A general slammed his fist on a table. Cut that signal, he shouted. But it was too late. The truth was already flying across the stars. Back in the palace, the hall filled with voices. Some council members feared what would come next. Others felt hope. That night, Rian walked alone in the garden. The stars above him seemed brighter. He remembered when he had first come to Zaros years ago. It had felt like a new beginning. Then the war had stolen everything. Velra joined him. Her footsteps soft on the stone path. You spoke well today, she said. You did too, Rian replied. She sat on a bench near the glowing trees. Do you think they will listen? Not all, Rian said. But some will, and that's how it begins. A breeze moved through the leaves. The world felt still, as if waiting. Velra looked at the stars. My people are proud. Many will not forgive so quickly. Humans are the same, Rian said. But peace is not made in one day. It's built piece by piece. She turned to him. You could return to Earth now. You've done your part. Rian shook his head. Not yet. There's more to fix. She gave him a soft look. Then stay. We need every voice behind them. The guards stood alert. The city still watched. But for a moment, under the sky, they were just two leaders trying to heal a broken galaxy. Suddenly, Luro ran into the garden with a message in hand. Something's happened, he said. Rian and Velra stood. What is it? She asked. Luro handed over the report. There was a protest in the northern district. People marched in silence, holding signs with your message. No weapons, no anger, just hope. Rian smiled. That's the first wave, he said. Velra folded the message. Then, we keep going. And with that, the path forward began not with fire, but with light. The protest in the northern district grew larger every day. What began as a silent march with signs soon turned into a peaceful movement. Thousands of Zirak citizens walked through the streets, not with weapons, but with voices. They held banners that said truth for all and no more war. Queen Velra watched from the high balcony of the palace. Her heart was heavy but hopeful. Never before had her people stood in unity without fear. For years, they had followed commands, obeyed orders, and stayed silent. Now they were speaking. Rian stood beside her, arms crossed. They believe in something. Again, he said, they believe in each other, Velra replied, and maybe in us, inside the palace. Some council members still resisted the idea of peace. They feared loss of control. Others warned of danger, saying more rebels might rise. But Velra made her choice. She called for a gathering of city leaders, military officers, teachers, workers, and even farmers. The meeting was not held in the throne room, but in the central square, where all could see and speak. The square was wide, made of polished stone, with tall silver flags waving in the wind. A stage stood in the center. People filled the space, some standing on rooftops and balconies. Velra walked onto the stage, wearing no crown, just a plain blue robe. I'm not here as your ruler, she said. I'm here as your servant. For too long, we followed voices that gave us fear instead of truth. That ends today. She stepped aside. Rian walked forward. I was once your enemy, he said. Now I stand among you, not to fight, but to heal. The war took many lives. No words can change that, but your future is still yours to shape. The crowd clapped, not with noise, but with hands raised in the air. A Xerac gesture of deep respect. Then something unexpected happened. From the edge of the square, a small group of humans appeared. Diplomats, scientists, and even a few soldiers from Earth. They had come after seeing the broadcast. One of them, a woman named Hannah, stepped onto the stage. We were told you would never listen, she said. But we were wrong. You are listening, and so are we. She turned to Velra. We bring a message from Earth's people. Many want peace. They asked to meet, talk, and rebuild. Velra looked at Rian. He gave a small nod. Then let us meet. Velra said, but not in secret halls or battlefields. We will meet here, in the light. The crowd raised their hands again. But not everyone was pleased. Far away, in a fortress buried in the mountains, a group of Xerac war commanders gathered in silence. One of them, a sharp-faced woman named Dara, slammed her hand on the table. This is madness, she said. The queen joins with humans and throws away our strength. They cheer for her now, said another commander. But what happens when humans take more? What happens when the truth becomes weakness? Dara stood. Then we act. The screen before them showed images of the protests, the human diplomats, and the queen's speech. Dara pointed to it. Tomorrow, they signed the unity paper. She said, if we strike now, we stop it before it begins. The plan was simple. A hidden army would move through the old tunnels beneath the city and strike during the signing ceremony. No warning, no mercy. Back in the capital, preparations were being made. Flags of Earth and Xerac stood side by side. A long white table was placed in the square. The people gathered again, this time filled with hope. Velra wore a new robe, silver lined with soft red. Rian wore a clean uniform, not of war, but of unity. On the other side of the table, the Earth diplomats arrived with peace symbols on their jackets. Hannah led them forward with a smile. As the signing began, children released white birds into the air. Music played softly. Velra signed first, then Hannah. Then Rian. Cheers rose from the crowd. But beneath their feet, the old tunnels were alive with movement. Dara and her forces crawled through the dark, wearing black suits and holding silent weapons. Above, Luro stood on a tower, watching the square with sharp eyes. He held a small scanner in his hand. A red light blinked. He ran down the stairs fast. Inside the palace, Torn saw the signal. They're coming, he said. Guards moved quickly. Secret doors opened. Defense teams spread out. But the attackers were close. In the square, Rian felt a strange vibration in the ground. He looked at Velra. Something's wrong, he said. Just then, a section of the stage cracked open. Smoke rushed out. From the smoke, Dara rose with her soldiers. Get down, Rian shouted. Guards pulled Velra and Hannah away as chaos broke out. People screamed and ran. Dara raised her weapon. You've betrayed your people, she said to Velra. I gave them truth, Velra said. You gave them to the enemy, Dara replied. She aimed at Velra. Rian stepped between them. Dara fired. The shot hit Rian in the chest. He fell. Guards fired back. Dara was hit and pulled away by her soldiers. They vanished into the tunnels as fast as they came. Velra knelt beside Rian. Blood stained his robe. Stay with me, she said. Rian looked at her, eyes weak but steady. Did they sign? He asked. Yes, she said, tears in her eyes. They signed. Then it was worth it, Rian whispered. He closed his eyes. Torn and Lura arrived with medical tools. They worked fast. Time was short. The square slowly calmed. People returned, watching with worried eyes. Velra stood and raised her hand. We were attacked by fear, she said, but we stand with hope. The people raised their hands and returned. And high above, the white birds circled the sky. The medical team worked without rest. Rian was taken to the palace's healing chamber, where advanced Zirak machines and Earth's doctors worked side by side. His wounds were deep, but his will to survive was strong. Velra waited just outside the room. She had removed her royal robe and now wore simple clothes. Her crown rested on a stone bench beside her. She sat with her hands clenched, her face calm but her heart full of worry. The people of the city stood outside the palace, holding quiet watch. They didn't chant or shout. They simply waited. Thousands of them, humans, stood beside Zirak. No one asked them to come. They just did. After hours of silence, the healer walked out. He will live, she said. Velra stood up, her eyes wide. His body is strong, the healer added. His heart is stronger. Rian opened his eyes later that night. The room was quiet. A soft light glowed from the ceiling. He saw Velra sitting near his bed. You stayed, he said in a weak voice. I never left, Velra answered. He smiled. A little. Did we win? We won something greater than a battle, she said. We won the people. Over the next few days, the city changed. The failed attack had only made the unity stronger. More people came from outside cities and even other planets. Messages poured in from human colonies, from peaceful Zirak leaders, from those who believe in the future. The unity agreement was signed again, in front of an even larger crowd, this time, not just by leaders, but by artists, farmers, teachers, and students. Everyone had a place in the new order. Velra made one final speech as queen. I was chosen to lead during a time of fear, she said. But fear cannot lead us anymore. I stepped down not in shame, but in hope. Let new voices rise. Let the Council of Peace be our guide. She removed the crown and placed it on a stone pillar. Cheers rose from the crowd. No one called her queen anymore. They called her Velra the Brave. Rian, still healing, joined her on the stage. He stood with a cane, but he stood tall. I came here as a soldier, he said, but I leave as a friend. Earth and Zirak can grow together, not in power, but in purpose. He handed over a small metal piece. It was the broken badge from his old uniform. I no longer serve a flag, he said. I serve peace. The badge was placed beside Velra's crown, symbols of a past now behind them. In the months that followed, a new city began to rise near the edge of the capital. It was built with human and Zirak hands. Its buildings had smooth curves and strong lines, a mix of both cultures. At the center stood a tall tower made of glass and light. They called it the Hall of Unity. Inside the hall, people from all races gathered to discuss farming, energy, health, art, and science. There were no kings or warlords, only citizens. Children from Earth and Zirak studied together. They learned about stars, about languages, about kindness. They didn't care about the past war. They only saw the present. One day, Velra walked through a garden built near the city's edge. Flowers from both worlds grew side by side, some tall with blue petals, some short with red leaves. Birds sang in the trees above. Rian joined her. He now walked without the cane. You walk better than me now, Velra joked. I had a good reason to recover, he said. They sat on a bench under a glowing tree. The sun of the Zirak world was setting. painting the sky in gold and violet. Do you think it will last? Velra asked. Peace, Rian said. It's not easy, but it's worth it. She nodded. Sometimes I still hear the voice of the old world. The voice that says war is the answer. I hear it too, Rian said. But it's quieter now. Behind them, laughter came from a group of children chasing light birds through the trees. One of them, a human boy, helped a Zirak girl climb a small rock. She smiled and held his hand. Velra watched them and smiled. That is the future, she said. That is what we fought for, Rian added. News of their unity spread across other systems. Some leaders welcomed the change, some feared it. But the example of Earth and Zirak could not be ignored. Trade began between worlds. Shared research brought new cures and energy sources. New transport ships were built that used both human design and Zirak crystal power. They moved faster and cleaner than ever before. In space, a new station was built, far above both planets. It was named Horizon, a place where people from any world could come and learn. A symbol that peace was not only possible, it was real. Years later, a small group of historians gathered to write a book about the war and the peace that followed. They visited Velra and Rian in the garden. Many think you were just lucky, one of them said. Rian smiled. We were stubborn. Velra laughed, and a little foolish, but mostly. Rian said, we believed that something better was possible. And with that, the two walked back toward the city. The stars began to shine above, and to moons rose over the quiet hills. There were no kings, no rulers, only people. And peace.